A former Trump prosecutor called Mark Pomerantz, this guy right here, is now invoking the fifth, pleading the fifth, saying, I don't want to answer any questions lest I might incriminate myself. And so that's a very curious thing for a prosecutor to be doing, given that prosecutors always lecture the defense about this, especially guys like this. Mark wrote a whole book about this. Trump is such a monster, you know, if he wants to be proven innocent, why can't we just have him in court and he can prove himself? All that garbage, right? Why are you silent if you're so innocent? Well, of course, he is invoking. And that's the right thing to do legally. I'm not disputing that. I am calling out the double standards, right? They always apply this to Trump inappropriately. Well, he should just want to go into trial. Well, he'd also like to review the evidence, 13 million pages. 6 months isn't enough time to do that. But this is Mark Pomerantz, and he was called out by Matt Gaetz, representative, one of the only Republicans, along with a few others who are digging into this very important issue. You can see Gaetz posted this. He says, this is a new video. The Trump prosecutor now pleads the fifth. He was asked if he broke the law investigating Trump. And so here is what Matt Gaetz was asking, and then suddenly he pleads the fifth.
On the advice of counsel, I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh,
Sir.
Why not, Mark?
Privilege against self-insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And did you knowingly break any laws when investigating President Trump?
Objection.
Same response.
Did you break any laws when you worked at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office?
Objection.
Same response.
Ms. Pomerantz, did you violate any person's constitutional rights when you worked on the Trump investigation?
Objection.
I have the same response to your question.
Mr. Pomerantz,
Why can't he just say no? Of course not. I didn't violate any laws. No, of course not. Why does he have to plead the fifth, huh?
did you violate any person's constitutional rights while you worked at the Manhattan DA's office?
Objection.
Same answer.
Did you misuse any federal funds while investigating President Trump?
Same response.
Did you misuse any federal funds while you were working in the Manhattan District Attorney's office?
Same response.
And did you violate any New York State bar rules while you were investigating President Trump?
Objection.
Same response.
Did you violate any New York State bar rules while you were working in the Manhattan District Attorney's office?
Objection.
Same response.
And did you violate any canons of legal ethics when you were investigating President Trump?
Objection.
Same response.
Did you ever violate any canons of legal ethics while you worked at the Manhattan District Attorney's office?
Objection.
The same response.
Okay, answer to every question was yes. Yes, I did. Unconstitutional? Yeah. Did you violate your ethics? Yeah. Did you violate the code of conduct? Yeah. Bar rules? Yeah. All of them. But, prosecutors are asking the question here. It's their standards we're asking them to adhere to. So what is the problem with him just saying no clearly? I would never misappropriate any federal funds clearly. So that is from Gaetz. He is, of course, is pleading the fifth. And so this is something that Trump has called out. Remember, one of the prior posts from Trump was about Mark Pomerantz in particular. It said, I wonder what happened to his cell phone records. Where'd all those go? Like, did he use a public cell phone and a private cell phone? And if he used a private cell phone, were those private cell phone text messages and email exchanges and all the things logged in accordance with his duties and obligations as a public servant, so-called prosecutor? Right? Where are those? So Trump posted about this and they said, you can't talk about a witness. Pomerantz might come in here and testify. We never know. And so they said this was, threatening, intimidating a witness, whatever. So we now have a contempt proceeding that is about to get underway in day 10 of this trial. Before everything gets started, Donald Trump was out speaking to the public. He had a little bit of a conversation about the college protest and other things, but let's check in and see what he has to say specifically about this trial.
Whether you like it or not, and it's too bad. We're down at the trial now, getting ready to spend another day in the courthouse, which is bogus trial that every leading authority on law says should never have been brought, that Alvin Bragg didn't want to bring it until the election happened and that he brought it. You just do know that this case could have been brought 8 years ago. Instead, they wait and wait and wait. They know it's not a good case, and now it's turned out to be they've lost they have no case. But we have a very conflicted judge, unfortunately, and so you never know. But other than that, there's no case, and it should have never been brought. But if it was going to be brought, it should have been brought 8 years ago. We're talking about 2015, 2016. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And they wait till I announce, and then they start their action, and then they wait till prime time, Super Tuesday. It all started Super Tuesday, the biggest day, which we won every single thing. Super Tuesday was a big day for me, but that's when it all really came into being. And who starts a case right smack in the middle of somebody's elections? It should be illegal because it's election interference. So we're going to go in right now, and I will comment just quickly on the colleges and universities.
All right, so you know where that's going. But of course, Trump is explaining explain how this was a tactical launch, and it's worse than just them initiating this case late. It is also them accelerating the trial. All right, remember, they had Judge Chutkan's trial that was scheduled to start in March, and then they moved that around once she got stayed and it went up on appeal at the Supreme Court. Then they reaccelerated the New York case. Wasn't even really ready to go. And they're like, oh crap, our Florida case isn't going to go. Big fannies at Nathan's hot dog land. We also have the J6 case, which is up on appeal, probably coming back down. That's not going to go before the election. So they accelerated this back when they could. So this is now what happens in trial. Of course, we're going over to Inner City Press, who is reporting. You know who he is. Make sure you're following him, Matthew Russell Lee. He tells us trial, day 10, New York. Donald Trump has arrived on scene at the courthouse, seated at the defense table, leaning over, whispering to his defense attorney, Todd Blanche, to his right, seated in the lead counsel seat. Now, there is some commotion afoot. Looks like we're going to be handling the contempt motion at the start of this proceeding, and Todd Blanche is going to be arguing the case. Now, we are waiting for the judge to get in. The clock strikes 9:30. Poof! The doors open. All rise! Everybody stands up. Please be seated. Clerk of the court says, all right, this is the time set for the people of the state of New York versus Donald Trump. Indictment number, blah, 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 blah. Judge Mercant says, all right, good morning, everybody. Today, we're getting started with our hearing on contempt. Now, previously, the defense provided close to 500 pages in total. That's a lot. Now, government, why don't you go through each one of these violations that you are alleging here, and why don't you explain them? So the government bureaucrat gets up, prosecutor. He says, all right, Your Honor, happy to. Well, Trump is claiming that the order, the gag order, was not intended to allow others to attack him without him being able to respond. That's what Trump says. But he's already been found to have violated an order 9 times. And he did that earlier this week. And now he's just done it again. And so Trump said in his post, Your Honor, he pulls up this post. He says, this jury was picked very fast. It's a 95% Democrat area there in Manhattan. And his justification for this comment is that the media was saying that. He says the media said it, so I can say it. But he amplifies it, okay? Now he's creating an air of menace, whatever that is. It sounds like a legal term of art. We'll see. And so he places this entire process in jeopardy by him saying stuff in his own defense about this rigged case. This whole process is in jeopardy, which there's, I would say, some truth to that in terms of analyzing this in 2 avenues, okay? Court of law, the court of public opinion. The court of public opinion is where the First Amendment operates. We're allowed to talk about this. That's why we have it. It is undermining their process because it's wrecking the credibility of their prosecution, and they can't have that. But that's our system. Our system is built for that. If it's a legitimate and a credible prosecution, Trump can run his mouth. Nothing you can do. Like, imagine if Brian Kohberger comes out, okay? And I've been following that case. I don't know if there's, mounds of evidence or not, but I think there is. But if he came out and says, this whole case is rigged against me, everybody comes out and says, no, dude, like, we got your hand, like, we got you, right? It's, no one believes that. But they suppress the truthful things. The truth is what gets suppressed. And the truth would wreck their credibility. This judge donated to Joe Biden. Yeah. This judge's daughter raised $93 million for the Democrats and works for Joe and Kamala. Yeah. It places your credibility and this process in jeopardy, right? And they don't want that to happen. So they have to silence him, in other words, which is a violation of the First Amendment for Trump and for us. And it is anti-American. They say that the integrity of the proceedings, whatever that means, usurps that. Now, on April 25th, reporters were questioning Trump, they say. And I think it was all part of the plan. They asked about David Pecker, said Trump. He's a nice guy. He said, this is classic carrot and stick. And so he selectively responded to this question and not others. And so Trump is just saying stuff that is illegal, in violation of your order, Your Honor. Similarly, here's another one. They say Trump, in an interview to a Pennsylvania TV station back on April 23rd, Your Honor, he said, Michael Cohen is, quote, a convicted liar and he has no credibility. They say he got in trouble and he did some bad things with banking. And so that was willful and knowing, Your Honor. Okay, he said that. Michael Cohen's a witness. He's on our witness list and he's a convicted liar. He's clearly talking about him. This was willful and knowing. And also, Judge, on April 22nd, outside the door to this very courtroom, in the little pen out there that's set up for him, he stood there, the defendant, for 9 minutes and spoke about a witness that will be here at some point in the future. His name is Michael Cohen. And he said Cohen wasn't even a very good lawyer. He said Cohen got caught lying, which is, factually true. He's got a conviction for it. Now, we understand the court's concern about Michael Cohen. The judge is like, well, the dude's kind of a liar. Like, what do you want? But they filed 500 pages of documents, Your Honor. This is the government whining. They filed his TikToks. Michael Cohen doing his little hearts. Yeah, Michael, get it. But there's nothing to indicate that Trump saw these when they were made. So there's nothing to prove that he was responding to those. So he's just ripping on Cohen because he wants to, not because because he's responding to anything at all. And he says, by the way, Michael Cohen is not a political opponent. He's not running for anything. Your Honor, here's an order, okay? You wrote an order, and these are violations of that order. Now, Mr. Blanche, right here in front of this courtroom, he said to Trump, to his client, he said that he understands the gag order. And so, Your Honor, we've met our burden, okay? There's an order. We showed you here. He shouldn't be talking about Michael Cohen. And so we're asking here this morning for a maximum $1,000 fine. Each payment should be $1,000. Now, Your Honor, we are not yet seeking jail yet, looking at Trump, and we're doing that to avoid disruption to this proceeding. But next time, maybe we will. Do it! Disrupt it! We'll see if he does. Real tough. All right, so here's Justice Merchan. He says, okay, nice little speech there, government. Mr. Blanche, over to you. Trump's defense attorney stands up. He says, Your Honor, on Tuesday, the court said to us that the purpose of the gag order is to shield those fearful of reprisal from the defendant, from Trump. Now, that's a reason to deny these four. If the purpose of the gag is to shield those fearful of reprisal, then that doesn't apply here. Now, you've said that your order is not intended to allow unfettered attacks on Trump, but that's what's happening right now if he can't respond to this. Now, since Trump announced in 2022, almost 2 years ago, there have been attacks by Michael Cohen and people he has on his podcast regularly. He has a podcast over there and he shows up on a bunch of other podcasts and hangs out with Inside Jen Psaki, and they have, patty cake time on network. And the judge cuts him off, says, my main concern is with the conduct after the gag order was issued. So I issued an order. What happened after that? He says, fine, I'll focus on recent statements then, Your Honor. I'll just get to it. He says, last week, President Trump's rival, this is Trump's defense, President Biden said in a public forum, he talked about a witness in this trial. Okay, the president of this country, Trump's chief political opponent, says, you might call it stormy weather. He's talking about Stormy Daniels in his little stupid correspondence dinner where he couldn't even eat a salad. Joe, eat your food. He got it in there, finally, which is good. Our president can feed himself. That's great news. Now, President Trump can't respond due to the gag order, they say. So the president is out there dunking on his political opponent that he's unleashed his DOJ to go after and sent Matthew Colangelo from the DOJ to go reignite the Alvin Bragg prosecution. President Trump can't respond to the gag. He says, well, he can respond to President Biden. He just can't speak about a witness in this trial. But Biden can? This is ridiculous. He can go out and give whole speeches about this and talk about Stormy, but Trump can't talk about Stormy? So he can just respond to Biden but not reference Stormy? Your Honor, these exhibits that we have of these 500 pages, they came stacked, baby. They're mostly tweets or retweets by Michael Cohen. They're recents and podcasts, and they're also recent, very recent podcasts. We got a whole list. Now, it says there may be a need to remove some people from the gag order if they don't need protecting, right? If Michael Cohen wants to run his mouth, remove him. We can talk about him. So on Pecker, Trump said on April 23rd for a news show in Philadelphia, he was answering a question about Pecker. Now, what Trump said was factual and neutral. And so there shouldn't even be a warning on that. Now, the president also has known Pecker for decades. And so they're friends. Like, it's not even a thing. He says, judge cuts him off. It's not just about Mr. Pecker, okay? It's the message to other witnesses. I have expressed my concerns about Mr. Cohen, says the judge. Even the judge is like, yikes. But it's about the other witnesses, okay? That's a concern, right? Other witnesses are going to see what Trump is doing and they might be scared. So therefore, we have to silence Trump. Isn't that crazy? So it's not even about the person that Trump is speaking about. It's about what someone else might think about the person Trump is speaking about. You can't measure that. How do you quantify that? So you just can't speak about anything. And Cohen can run his mouth. Biden can run his mouth. Stormy can run her mouth with her documentaries on Peacock. But it's about the other witnesses. Todd Blanche's defense says, Your Honor, every word that's being said here is being reported in real time. And so President Trump has to respond. What's happening in this trial gets cut off. It's not surprising we have the press here, okay? Defendant is a former president after all. And the judge says he's also the leading Republican candidate. Now, I don't have any authority over the press, so I can't tell them what to report or to not report or what to do or who they put on their shows. I can't extend the gag order to the press. So if you're upset with Cohen being on the press, that's on the press. It's not my problem. So let me ask you, Todd, when your client went to that holding area outside this courtroom, he went to them, not the press to him. So Trump went to talk to them. And so he gave them the statement. He says, well, I agree with that, Your Honor, but President Trump has to be able to speak. He's running for president. Well, that's why the area is set up, okay? So he can speak about the DA of New York County, and that's all. He says, Your Honor, on David Pecker, what President Trump said, well, he was nice. He said he was a nice guy. He didn't even say anything mean about him. So that's all he said. And judge says, well, I'm not really concerned with that one, all right? I'm not really concerned about him talking about Pecker. You can say nice things about Pecker, but not about the other people. Says, Your Honor, Mr. Cohen, okay, this is different, has been inviting, almost daring President Trump to respond to him. Now, let me put some of these on the screen. Judge says, hurry up. Put it on the screen? All right, fine, go fast. So they put photos on the screen. There's a photo of Trump in orange with, I guess, Nelson Mandela in prison, right? So we've seen those stupid memes. They're idiotic memes. The left can't meme. They're not funny at all. But it's a stupid meme. Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, continues. He says, Your Honor, Mr. Cohen posted on this one. He says that he's not going to send money to President Trump's commissary account when he's in jail. And then he says something obnoxious, and it's a photo of Barry Diller, Squawk Box, and Midas Touch. It's now down. So, you know, Midas, those crew, they all just wake up with TDS on the brain every morning and pump out as much content as they can, like every hour. It's crazy. You should go just check their channel out. It's just hilarious. But that's all they do. Okay. So they're talking about this. Now, Todd Blanche says, Mr. Cohen has been shopping a TV show. He thinks someone's going to watch him and the disaster. So he's going through the screen. Judge cuts him off. Okay, we've made your point here. Okay, we don't need to see all of these posts. Enough. He says, Your Honor, Cohen has interviewed reporters in this room who blast President Trump for what he did while he was president. In excess of 10, by the way. He's looking around at the media. He's like, Cohen brought this guy on and that guy and you too, punk, and you. In excess of 10 in this room. And actually way excess of 10. He's looking around. He's like, look at all these scum. Now, Mr. Cohen goes on TikTok every night doing his little heart dance, making money off this case. Now, this is not a man who needs protection from the gag order, okay? Okay, well, what about the comments that Trump made about the jury, he says? He says there's 15 seconds, Your Honor, from a 20-minute interview here. Okay, this trial matters to voters. We believe this is a political prosecution. Now, you may not, but we do. Yeah, but he said the jury was rushed through this process. Does this violate the gag order, Mr. Blanche? He says he wasn't speaking about any particular juror. He said they're a Democrat or anything. That's that. He says the press has done that. The press has talked about the jurors, not the president. Judge says, okay, it's 10-10, enough out of you. Let's wrap it up and get going. He says, Your Honor, okay, finally, let me just say Stormy Daniels does also not need to be protected by this gag order. She's got a documentary and she doesn't need anyone protecting her. I'm gonna make a gag comment, but we'll leave that out. So jury in 5 minutes, he says, the judge. So we're taking a break. Jury's back in 5 minutes. And of course, that is the contempt proceeding. And so the judge is going to reserve a ruling on that. We'll take that under advisement. We'll get his ruling. What do you think is going to happen on that? We'll wait and see. That is the first part of the trial in day 10. And so we'll pause. We'll hear from Alina, who's talking about the ladies on The View and how upset they are that Trump might win the election. They're very concerned and nervous about this. Worried, you might say. It's just why they need all these criminal prosecutions to go against Trump so they can have a new talking point. He's a convicted felon. This is what the ladies on The View are talking about, and Alina has a response.
We got to ring some alarm bells. The election's 7 months out. I don't trust polling. I do agree with that. I think you can take it on aggregate, and if the polls on aggregate to be believed, Donald Trump very well may be president in 7 months.
You said you were in a good mood.
No, and I said I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry to bring the mood down with my take, but I'm very worried.
But what's the good mood about?
That I just happen to be in one.
What do you want, some kind of drug or something?
I know.
Well, so yuck, yuck, yuck. I got bad news for you, ladies of The View. Trump just might be president in 7 months. Coming from Melissa Farah, who once was pro-Trump as they can get, and now has made a career on anti-Trumpism. Again,
Sell a lot
Alina,
of books, get a lot of
you're a better
interviews
person
that way.
for that right seat because you'll be at least honest at that table.
Yeah, but if you listen to her, what did she say? The word she used, I'm worried. It goes exactly to what I said. They're trying to create fear, and they know that people act out in fear. And if they don't have all the facts, they become fearful. If they don't have faith, they become fearful. And fear is a very crippling thing. And that's what they keep saying. I'm worried. I'm scared. Oh, he's going to do this. Oh, it's a revenge. And give me a break. Our country is falling apart. Campuses are a disaster. Kids need to go back and do their homework and stop protesting because they're backed by some left-winging person. You're hurting the country. You're hurting our children. That's the future of our country. And if these people care about their children, I challenge them to look at their wallets, look at their homes, and look at what their kids are being taught and tell me how it's better now than it was under President Trump, because you cannot, absolutely cannot with a straight face. So maybe it's clickbait, maybe that's what they want, and they'll make their money that way. But I think moral compasses are kind of critical at these moments.
Yeah, they, I think, have foregone a lot of those conversations. It's basically all hands on deck to just stop Trump. They don't really care about justice anymore. They, I think, don't care about even a lot of the issues anymore. As long as they can utilize the issue or their power to stop Trump, they'll do it. And then they'll figure out the issues in the aftermath, which is why I think a lot of things are sort of coming off the rails here as they try to flail around to find something that works, grasping on to some lever that might stop Trump. We'll see if they can do it or not. But of course, that was the contempt proceeding. Now we are going to come back for the second half of the trial in the next segment, of course, but this is something we'll continue to follow up on because Judge Merchan, very likely, like the last order, will issue a written opinion and he'll explain why Trump did it or why he didn't do it, and then issue more orders for fines, penalties, and sanctions. And so thank you for joining us as we do. Don't forget to check out Inner City Press's work. We got his links in our description below, wherever you're watching this. We also have our links. watchingthewatchers.locals.com is our members only community. We do live streams 6 days a week in the mornings, including on Saturdays. We talk about a bunch of other stuff that we can't get into here. We'd love to have you join us. So come on over, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We'll see you over there and back here on the next one.